From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good afternoon, my name is Riley Lung and you're tuning in to the 1680 The Crow. It's currently 2:30 p.m., starting off after a year-long investigation into the PNE riot that broke out in 2022. 15 people were charged with mischief and the riot causing $300,000 in damages. After headline Lil Baby was forced to cancel his performance due to an illness, Vancouver police were able to identify rioters by video posted online and tips from people online, which played a huge role in identifying the suspects. Officials in BC say Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's announcement in Parliament that credible intelligence linked to India's government into the death of Sikh leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar has shaken the community. BC Attorney General Nikki Sharma says the province will be taking every step it can to protect people in the community from violence. Premier David Eby says he was deeply disturbed by what he was told by intelligence officials, a sentiment shared by Sharma.
Thoughts and all of our thoughts go out to the Nijjar family from this news. I think the community is reeling. It's shocking and distressing. Every British Columbian has the freedom to express their political views, to express their values without the threat of violence or harm. And what Prime Minister Trudeau revealed yesterday was troubling.
Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky is visiting the U.S. for the first at the United Nations and later at the White House, but he is also expected to make a brief visit to Canada. Mickey Jurich from the Canadian Press has more.
Sources tell the Canadian Press that Zelensky will be visiting Canada, which will include stops in Ottawa and Toronto. He will also deliver an address to Parliament. This will be Zelensky's first trip to Canada since Russia began its large-scale invasion of Ukraine, although he did deliver a virtual speech to Parliament in March of 2022. His visit follows his appearance at the UN General Assembly, where the war in Ukraine is expected to dominate global talks and where Zelensky is expected to appeal for more aid. Zelensky made his first official visit in Canada in 2019. Mickey Jurich, the Canadian Press, Ottawa.
TransLink Mayors Council are asking for funds from the federal government for what they say is an urgent public transit expansion for Metro Vancouver. Sebastian Aaron-Sibia has more on the story.
Mayors from Vancouver, Surrey, Port Coquitlam, and Burnaby share that transit is concerned amid new reports of rising ridership and growing population. According to data from TransLink, by 2025, almost 4 in 10 buses during rush hour will be severely overcrowded. Mike Hurley, mayor of Burnaby, says the north and south routes are the ones in need of a double bus servicing. He says without federal funding, they won't be able to keep up with the increasing demand of passengers the city expects.
We just won't be able to move ahead with the improvements that are needed to keep up with the population growth. And even the growth we have right now, we're falling behind.
According to TransLink, the plan needs funding commitments from the federal government no later than June 2024. Sebastian Asiria, 1680 The Crow.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has also told world leaders that Russia is turning everything from food, energy, to abducted children as weapons in a war against Ukraine. While addressing the UN Assembly, he says Vladimir Putin must be stopped.
Ukraine is doing everything to ensure that after Russian aggression, no one in the world will dare to attack any nation. Weaponization must be restrained. War crimes must be punished. Deported people must come back home, and the occupier must return to their own land. We must be united to make it, and we'll do it. Slava Ukraini!
Now for your weather report. It is currently cloudy in the Metro Vancouver area right now. We can expect some rain soon in the coming hours and all throughout the evening. The current temperature is 16 degrees and we're looking at a high of 16 and a low of 10. Wednesday is expected to look brighter than today with sun all day with a high of 19 degrees and a low of 11. Thursday and Friday is looking good with sun all day as well. It's going to be a little warm with a high of 22 degrees and a low of 12. I'm Riley Lung and you're listening to the 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Oh my!
This is kind of just the area we chucked all his baseball gear in because it was taking over this whole room here when he was playing. But like, yeah, this was his Little League hoodie from when he played for North Van Central. Different sort of awards, you know, PBL Player of the Year. That's what he wore at the draft combine to get him all access into the back rooms and things like that, and to just get interviewed. And you look at it and you feel pretty proud that you're part of it.
Adam was very high energy as a kid. He was always running around, getting into stuff, but he was, we could tell, like really good at anything he ever did.
He would wait for me after school for me to come home from work, and so he'd know approximately what time I'd be coming home, and he'd wait for me basically outside the front door and play around on the lawn with a soccer ball or a basketball or stick handle his hockey puck.
Just growing up and like playing catch with my dad in the front yard, or like him throwing me batting practice in the cage. There's so many times, or throwing tennis balls at the park or something like that. So many times where we've done that at the time I kind of took for granted that, you know, are still fun to do, and I always try and play catch with them and stuff when I get the chance.
It's hard as a parent because you think, you know, oh, my kid's so good at this, but then you also think, well, it's just because we're his parents, we think he's so wonderful.
Okay, let's go. Let's go. Get out here. Guys, get out. Come on, get out now.
He played with the North Shore Twins. He would have been 13 when he started that. And so that's called the PBL. That's the Premier Baseball League, and it's where all the best players go and where the best coaches are.
I know, like his parents were always there to support him, and I know he played a whole bunch of different sports. He wasn't just a baseball player. I think he played some pretty high-level hockey, certainly early on when he was younger. Being able to have a parent that's in your corner, right? Like as an athlete, you're always going to go through those ups and downs, and it's important to have somebody there to have those conversations with and kind of talk you through the tough times and be able to, you know, point you in the right direction. Maybe you've had a bad game, or you're, you know, I don't know, having those thoughts about maybe not playing anymore.
I remember he had a bad day at the plate. You know, his team was down, you know, just maybe one run or something like that. Late in the game, he had runners on base, might have been loaded bases, and he popped up to the catcher, you know, didn't even get it out of the outfield. He was so pissed off. And, you know, on the car ride home, you could tell he was just really mad, madder than I've ever seen him. And then he came home, and I heard him throw his bag down on the ground in this room here. And then I remember him mumbling something, and I was upstairs, and then I heard this big noise, bang. And I thought, okay, what did he do? And so I came downstairs, and he had taken his baseball bat and he had broken it over his leg. He, you know, fired it across the backyard into the woods kind of thing. So you know, for me, it was like, yeah, maybe I should talk to him. Maybe I should just let him steam down for a little while. And I went and I got the barrel of the bat out of the trees, and I kept it, and I actually shoved it into the dirt behind a bush back here. And I didn't tell him, but I said, okay, I'm going to stick this in there, and I won't tell him that story that I kept the barrel of the bat.
We would have to leave work early. It was a constant juggle. There was, you know, we have another son too, so had to make sure he was fine. And so it was always one of us leaving work early or arranging a carpool or something. There was a lot of driving and a lot of, you know, drive-through dinners, and it was really busy. I think it's just a similar story for most families that have their kids in sports.
And just the multi-sports too, so that was in hockey, that was in baseball, that was in soccer, so it never really ended. There wasn't a season where he could take a break or we could take a break.
Bob and Amy, they're both super nice. All the time when we're over at their house, they're just so genuine and caring and accepting of having all of us over there all the time. I think they've definitely done a lot to help him get to where he is, just taking him everywhere. Like growing up, he was playing a lot of sports, like they're going to school, hockey, baseball, driving around all over the Lower Mainland, getting into sports. I mean, I know I couldn't have played any of the stuff I did without my parents.
His high school team, the North Shore Twins, was over in Deep Cove by my sister's place, and I have really fond memories now of, just going to my sister's, and we would ride our bikes over, and sometimes my parents would come, we'd have a picnic, and it was really special to be able to watch those games. My most excited memory of watching him play was it wasn't a playoff, but he was on the North Shore Twins, and I think it was a quarterfinal, and they were playing against the North Delta Blue Jays.
Like, we were down to the last couple innings of our season, and we were down a couple runs, and you knew if we could get some guys on and you could get him up to the plate, like he was going to succeed in that moment, because that's who he was.
He went up to bat, and they were down, and
right, and he loved those pressure situations. He loved those situations where the game was on the line.
yeah, he started complaining of pain in his elbow sort of towards the end of the summer in Cape Cod.
So that would be August of 2021.
He'd made the decision to go to Oregon, and we thought, you just got to rest your elbow.
In the third start that he got, after maybe 3 innings or something like that, he was on the mound. We were watching from home, and he just kind of grimaced and winced, and we thought, oh no, like what happened there? And then the pitching coach came out, and then he was holding his elbow, and we thought, okay, that's not good. And they took him out of the game, and then that's when he had to shut it down. So that was March of 2022.
He saw this great surgeon down in San Francisco, and he was able to see him right away. That's one of the many perks of going to a Division I school in the U.S. is that you have great access to medical attention. I flew down and met him in San Francisco, and he had the surgery, and it was successful, and I flew back to Eugene with him, and he recovered there, and everything went according to plan, and he was disappointed to miss his whole season, but he was also relieved in that he knew that the feeling in his elbow wasn't normal, wasn't good, and he was really happy to get it fixed, knowing that he will come back even possibly better than he was before. We were really thrilled that he was able to get the opportunity to go to Oregon, but again, it was, a bit of a pull at the heartstrings that your son's actually leaving and going hundreds of miles away, and you can't just, he can't just come home for a Sunday dinner anymore. He's matured a lot, I think, through this whole process that he's been through, and so I felt like he was, ready to move away and be on his own, or with his roommates or whatever. When he was in Oregon, we made it down to only one of his games, and then he only played in 3 games when he was with Oregon, and then had to come out due to his injury. But that was, a 8-hour drive to get there, and you got to book a hotel. It was quite something to get there. We're super keen to get down to Atlanta or wherever he's going to end up and watch him play again.
Knowing that how much they love watching me play, and that they get to do that, and it's becoming a little bit more rare that they're able to do that since I'm playing so far away. So it's definitely special to look up and see them in the stands, hopefully with a smile on their face, enjoying watching me play.
I took a picture of the TV set when he was pitching on TV because they televised the World U18 championships from South Korea. When I see him there, which is, very small in the picture, I just know it's him because of his style of pitching, so I can tell that's a real picture and it's not just somebody drew it. It makes me feel proud of what he's done because I really didn't do anything. I maybe taught him how to throw, how to hit, at the beginning, gave him some tools that he could sort of work with, but and maybe some advice later on about the education piece. And my contribution is minor to the whole process, and I just want to support him. And he's done everything that he's had to do to get to where he is by hard work and by educating himself and to find that way to be, to have that competitive edge.
I think for Adam, he's had a bit of a rough year over this last year with, being injured and going through the surgery and the things that he has, and now moving on to professional baseball. I think he's going to, need a lot of family support, not only as he works his way back to the field, but also as he takes the first few steps into professional baseball.
I'm kind of amazed all of the things that he's managed to do, all the accomplishments. They just keep stacking up on each other, and he just keeps getting better and better. So it's really, I'm really amazed, and I'm super proud of him.
And I'm going to keep it in there until he makes the major leagues, until he actually plays a game in the show. The memories are all here for sure, and so I'm sure there'll be a day when it's all over, but my wife wants us to clean up this area, but this is as tidy as it gets, and that's the state that it's in right now.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. The help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Hi, I'm Joseph Augusti, and welcome to the 3 o'clock news. 15 people have been charged with mischief after a 2022 riot at the Pacific National Exhibition left over $300,000 in damages. The damage came after the Breakout Festival headliner Lil Baby was forced to cancel his show due to illness. Fans channeled their frustration into property damage by flipping over trash cans and taking down structures. Some social media members say that as P&E tents were flipped over, rioters began to steal alcohol. The incident, which took place September 18, 2022, also resulted in damage to nearby residential areas. Senior diplomats have been ordered expelled in Canada and India after Prime Minister Justin Trudeau connected agents of the Indian government to the murder of BC Sikh leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar. India's Ministry of External Affairs says an unnamed senior Canadian diplomat has been asked to leave India within 5 days. Canadian Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly said Canada was expelling India's Pavab Kumar Rai, who is in charge of an Indian intelligence agency in Ottawa. Trudeau told the House of Commons that there is credibility to allegations that the Indian government agents were involved in Nijjar's death.
Our top priorities have therefore been, 1, that our law enforcement and security agencies ensure the continued safety of all Canadians, and 2, that all steps be taken to hold perpetrators of this murder to account.
The Indian government has denied the allegations, calling them, quote, absurd and motivated, end quote. The son of Sikh community leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar says his father was meeting regularly with Canadian intelligence officers in the months before he was shot dead in British Columbia. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says the murder has been credibly linked to India. Balraj Nijjar says in an interview that his father was meeting Canadian security intelligence officers once or twice a week, including 1 or 2 days before the June 18th killing, with another meeting scheduled for 2 days after his death. Balraj Nijjar says he also attended a meeting between his father and the RCMP last year in which they were told about threats to his father's life, and he was advised to stay at home. Conservative Party of Canada leader and leader of the opposition, Pierre Poilievre, made a statement regarding the killing of Nijjar.
If these allegations are true, they represent an outrageous affront to Canada's sovereignty. Our citizens must be safe from extrajudicial killings of all kinds, most of all from foreign governments.
Poilievre later asked for transparency from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who Poilievre claims has not provided any facts.
I think we need to see more facts. The Prime Minister hasn't provided any facts. He provided a statement, and I will just emphasize that he didn't tell me any more in private than he told Canadians in public, so we want to see more information.
Canada has signed a $3 billion deal with Romania to finance nuclear power in the Eastern European country. The country's energy minister says the deal will help diminish Russia's ability to use its energy exports as a weapon. TransLink's Mayor's Council has asked for funds from the federal government for what they say is an urgent public expansion for Metro Vancouver. Sebastian Arancibia has more on the story.
Mayors from Vancouver, Surrey, Port Coquitlam, and Burnaby share that transit's concern amid new reports of rising ridership and growing population. According to data from TransLink, by 2025, almost 4 in 10 buses during rush hour will be severely overcrowded. Mike Hurley, mayor of Burnaby, says the north and south routes are the ones in need of a double bus servicing. He says without federal funding, they won't be able to keep up with the increasing demand of passengers the city expects.
We just won't be able to move ahead with the improvements that are needed to keep up with the population growth. And even the growth we have right now, we're falling behind.
According to TransLink, the plan needs funding commitments from the federal government no later than June 2024. Sebastian Asiria, 1680 The Crow.
Now we go live to Sebastian. Hi, Sebastian. Can you hear me?
Hi, Joseph. Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. Could you share some of the data TransLink just shared?
Yeah, so they share very concerning data regarding overcrowding and the scenario that we could see over the next few years here in Metro Vancouver. For example, by 2025, 4 in 10 buses during rush hour will be severely overcrowded. Another piece of data is that Surrey and Langley are at 120% pre-COVID levels ridership, with some communities seeing ridership more than double over the past 4 years.
Could you also share more about the TransLink plan they have created alongside the mayors of the region?
Yeah, so the name of the plan is Access for Everyone. The plans will double bus services over the next decade. We'll build 9 new rapid bus lines and increase funding for active transportation infrastructure by a factor of 10 in the region. Joseph.
Thanks a lot, Sebastian. A special advisor report about SFU football delivers some answers to the closure of the program, but it's also opening up new questions. Reporter Max Mashman has more.
Following the release of a special advisor report from SFU pointing to a significant potential deficit if they kept the football program going, questions arise about the security of other programs under the SFU Athletics Department. Jim Mullen, the president of Football Canada, has read through the entire report and has concerns.
And while I'm the president of Football Canada, I have a concern for all student athletes. And the pieces that are in that report in regard to the actual department itself are kind of frightening.
Mullen went on to say, while SFU is a uniquely problematic department, other universities in Canada have the same issue. Max Mashman, 1680, The Crow.
A downtown East Side worker was struck in the head with an object at Oppenheimer Park Monday morning. According to Sergeant Steve Addison, VPD officers arrested the suspect and gave medical treatment to the victim. The suspect is a 39-year-old woman. A woman was assaulted by a group of youths in a New Westminster bus. Police rushed to the scene to meet the victim, who was treated for minor injuries. The group of youths fled the scene. We're in the early stage of this investigation, stated Sergeant Andrew Lever. We believe there were transit users on board the bus who saw this assault and fled the area before police arrived. We're asking those people to come forward to tell us about what they saw. In an interview with Meet the Press host Kristen Welker, former president and 2024 candidate Donald Trump was asked if he ever thinks about the possibility of going to jail.
No, I don't really. I don't even think about it. I'm built a little differently, I guess, because I have had people come up to me and say, "How do you do it, sir? How do you do it?" I don't even think about it.
Trump is currently out on bail in Florida, New York, and Georgia after being charged with multiple felonies, including election subversion, illegal storing of classified documents, and defamation. The final trailer for the Disney Plus series Percy Jackson and the Olympians was released Tuesday morning. The series, which was filmed entirely in Vancouver, focuses on Walker Scobell as a young Percy Jackson.
My name is Percy Jackson. Am I a troubled kid? Yeah, you could say that. Bad grades, bullies, all the normal stuff. And then there's some stuff that's maybe not so normal.
The first 2 episodes drop on Disney Plus December 20th. According to insider Rick Dollywall, the Canucks are browsing the trade market trying to get under the salary cap.
So I was told the Canucks are aggressively trying to make a trade right now, Don, and move a body, create cap space, and I'll tell you why. Canucks have officially activated Tanner Pearson off the IR, the LTIR, so that leaves the Canucks still $1.7 million over the cap, Don. Even if they place Tucker Pullman on LTIR, even with Pullman on LTIR, they're $1.7 million over the cap.
But even with that, we have some breaking news. Tanner Pearson has been traded to Montreal, according to TSN's Darren Dreger. The Canucks are trading Pearson and a third-rounder to Montreal for goalie Casey DeSmith. The Canucks will not be retaining any salary in the trade. The Vancouver Whitecaps' new signing made waves Tuesday when Junior Hoylett said that hometown Toronto FC never reached out to him when he was a free agent. Hoylett met with the Vancouver media where he mentioned that TFC never contacted him while his ex-national team teammate, Tosaint Ricketts, reached out on behalf of the Whitecaps. Ricketts, who played for both the Canadian national team and the Whitecaps, is now employed as a club liaison for player and community development. Hoylett mentioned that Ricketts was instrumental in convincing Hoylett to sign in Vancouver. The UEFA Champions League kicks off today, marking the start of the biggest soccer competition in Europe. The top teams in Europe are invited to the tournament to compete for the title of European champions. Canadians in the competition include Alphonso Davies of Bayern Munich, Alistair Johnston of Celtic, and Steven Eustáquio of Porto. The English Premier League club Manchester City are the reigning champs, having defeated Italian club Inter Milan in last year's Champions League final. Group stage play has kicked off, with mixed results for the Canadians. Johnston's Celtic lost 2-0 to Feyenoord, while Eustáquio's Porto prevailed over Shakhtar Donetsk. Davies will kick off tomorrow morning when Bayern plays Manchester United. The Toronto Blue Jays visit the Bronx this afternoon to play the New York Yankees. The Jays are in the midst of a heated playoff race, currently sitting a game ahead of the Seattle Mariners for the final wildcard spot. Yusei Kikuchi takes the mound for Toronto to start a crucial stretch of late September baseball. Ahead of Toronto FC's game at Inter Miami tomorrow, Spanish midfielder Victor Vázquez says there's no silver bullet when it comes to stopping Lionel Messi.
No, there is no plan to stop Messi. The plan is just to play our football, to try to score more goals than them, and that's the plan. Messi is unstoppable. He's special. Everybody knows that, and yeah, we will try our best and try to play our game. That's it.
Messi has taken the MLS by storm, taking the previously league-worst Inter Miami to a long winning streak, which concluded with a trophy after beating Nashville Soccer Club in the League's Cup final. Messi, however, is questionable for the game tomorrow as he sat out the last 2 games with muscle fatigue. Rihanna and A$AP Rocky are giving the world a first look at their second child together, a boy they named Riot Rose. The couple's first child was born in May 2022, and Rihanna made her pregnancy public after a performance at February's Super Bowl halftime show. Burnaby residents can expect a rainy day today with cloud and showers in the afternoon, with rain on and off during the night. The temperature is going to be at 16 degrees with 2 to 4 millimeters of rain with a POP of 80%. And that was your newscast for 11 a.m. I'm Joseph Augusti, and thanks for listening to 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Siggi-Kane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Hannah Miller became the first BC-born player drafted into the PWHL on Monday, when the new Toronto franchise selected her 74th overall. Hannah's career has taken her from St. Lawrence University in New York to the Kunlun Red Star in China. She even played for the Chinese women's national team in the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics and scored the country's first Olympic goal in 12 years. But now, the North Vancouver native is returning home to play women's pro hockey in a brand new league. I spoke with Hannah about her journey to the PWHL and what the league's arrival could mean for women's hockey in British Columbia. First of all, being drafted by Toronto yesterday, how exciting is that to be drafted by Toronto?
Yeah, obviously, super exciting. I think you look at the talent pool in the league, and just everyone who was entered the draft, and it's just first of all just like such an honor. There's so many good players, and then to be drafted by Toronto, I mean, get to stay in my home country. Some familiar faces there, which is kind of nice. And for the last little bit, I've been a huge Toronto Maple Leafs fan as well. So that's kind of an exciting part for me too, to be in that city. A lot of rich sports history there. A lot of already well-established, great professional teams. So I think it'll be a super exciting thing to be a part of.
And you mentioned coming back to playing in North America, in your home country and everything. You obviously spent the last few years playing in China. What is it like? What does it mean to be returning to playing pro hockey in North America again?
Yeah. I think I wouldn't trade my international overseas experience for anything. It was, it's amazing to travel to new places, meet new teammates from, all over the world, and get a different experience like that. But I think it's extra special after kind of being away for so long to kind of come back and hopefully get to play in front of some family and friends, which I haven't been able to do in a long time. So that's exciting for me too.
Yeah, and I imagine, but obviously you played through some pretty cool moments out in China as well, including in the Olympics and everything. And obviously your first season out there, I believe, was in the CWHL before it folded. And having seen how women's hockey has progressed in that time from watching from a distance, what do you feel about the PWHL setup specifically that sets it apart from some of the last few iterations of women's pro hockey?
Yeah, I think, it's just, everything is growing. Everything needed to start somewhere. And, the leagues of the past and the players of the past, everyone's been, a part of getting to this point. But I think now it's just, more backing, more professional, kind of just going to be done right. and like that's basically having the you see it, you can believe it, and you can be it. So I think it's super exciting moving forward for all the young girls, and that's really what it's about is having those young girls, those college girls, looking at something and seeing that they can play somewhere professionally, not have to get a job, and kind of look forward to that continuing their playing career professionally. So
that actually segues really well into my next question, which is just what do you think that this league's just existence and what it will and how and the amount of media attention it's going to be getting over the next little while and everything will do for expanding women's hockey in North America?
Yeah, I think it's just going to give the players more exposure. Everyone knows about the national teams and the Olympics, and everybody watches that, and the rivalry series here in North America that Canada and USA has had. So I think just bringing the exposure to it, easier access to being able to watch games, and men's professional sports has had that for a while, and I think that's really the key. Girls are going to be able to sit down and see it. It's going to be in front of them more, and I think that's important to just have someone that looks like you, or have that representation. So it's more relatable, and it's something that you can dream to be a part of one day as well.
Yeah, and I imagine that is something that you didn't particularly grow up with as much as girls today are, and like growing up in the Lower Mainland in Vancouver, in North Vancouver and everything. What was the women's hockey landscape like around the Lower Mainland when you were growing up?
Yeah, I mean, as far as watching hockey on TV, I definitely, was watching the national team and the Olympics and everything like that, and but definitely was watching a lot of NHL and men's professional. Because that's generally what has been on like mainstream television. But yeah, growing up in North Vancouver, I actually had really good experience playing for the North Shore Avalanche there, and going to provincials and playing in our local BC league. I think it was there's a lot of really good players out of that league if you go back who have gone on to play NCAA hockey or U Sports and national team as well. So some of my fondest memories are back playing with friends when you're young and you're just doing it for the fun of it, and that's kind of what it's all about still. Everyone has a huge passion for this game, and it's just amazing now that it's going to be able to be a career for girls moving forward. So it's exciting.
Yeah, where have you noticed the most changes in terms of the women's game, particularly in terms of the grassroots programs and everything, in whether it's here in BC or in just across the world? Where have you noticed that the most difference from, say, when you were starting out professionally to now?
Yeah, I think it's just the depth of the quality, right? I think it's continually progressing. Everyone's getting better. Even the younger players that I played on, Team China, the college girls, or whatever. Everyone's so fast. Everyone's training more. There's more skill, and hopefully the numbers just keep increasing, and more girls keep joining up and seeing the exposure, seeing us on TV, and saying, hey, you know what, I wanna start playing hockey, and that's really what it's all about, because sports is it's an amazing thing at the end of the day.
What do you think could be done in terms of from British Columbia's standpoint? What do you think people could be doing, whether that's like volunteering or something bigger than that, to kind of raise more awareness for women's hockey around here?
Yeah, I mean that's a tough question. I think this league is going to be an amazing start. I think if there's just that exposure, again, I know I'm saying it over and over, but seeing it on TV, having little girls just see it, there's definitely going to be a surge in interest in wanting to play sports. But yeah, I think when you're a kid playing, and it's all about volunteer. The coaches are volunteering their time, so just making sure that you have good people in those places, and they're making it fun and getting involved in the community as well, and kind of just bringing people together.
Now, obviously, I know you're not in charge of any of the upper management stuff, the how the league operations or anything like that. But as just from a personal standpoint, how likely do you think it is that we'll see Vancouver either in the mix for an exhibition game for the PWHL at some point, having heard that there are going to be some neutral site games, or even an expansion team in the PWHL? How likely do you think it is we'll see that down the road at some point?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but that would be amazing. To get back to Vancouver for an exhibition game or something like that would be incredible. Definitely very exciting things to look forward, and I think getting these 6 teams up and running and having a really strong first season for us, and then we can look to expansion after that. But definitely, it's an exciting time.
And then I guess for my last question, I'd be remiss. You mentioned the Leafs being a team you really enjoyed. Who are the teams and the players that inspired you as you were growing up?
Yeah, I mean, I think classic. I always loved Sidney Crosby. Kind of growing up, just plays the game the right way, and it's just a fun guy to watch and kind of try to model your game around. But obviously national team players as well. Haley Wickenheiser. But lately with Toronto, since he's been drafted and was in the NHL, I've been a huge fan of Austin Matthews. So yeah, it'll be exciting to hopefully get to watch some of their games as well and see their support for us too.
My thanks to Hannah Miller for her time. You'll be able to see her and her Toronto teammates in action when the PWHL drops the puck this January. I'm Lachlan Irvin for 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
From the broadcast center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good afternoon, I'm Riley Lung and you're listening to 1680 The Crow. It's currently 3:30 p.m. Starting off, the son of murdered Sikh leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar says he was surprised when Prime Minister Justin Trudeau confirmed the credible intelligence shows that the Indian government was involved in the shooting that led to Nijjar's death outside his Gurdwara in Surrey. Balraj Singh Nijjar made the comment last night at a gathering to remember his father, who was a leader of the movement to seeking an independent state for Sikhs in India. Supporters of Nijjar says the Indian government wanted to silence the Canadian citizen for his activism. Protests calling for public inquiry into India's interference in Canada are planned to take place in several cities, including Vancouver, next Monday. Alberta's chief medical officer says the exact cause of the E. coli outbreak in Calgary daycares may never be known. Dr. Mark Joffe says investigators are checking thousands of pieces of information as they continue to try to narrow the source of the outbreak that led to hundreds of people becoming ill and closures of multiple daycares. The 11 daycares that were the root of the breakout shared a commercial kitchen, which was likely the source of the breakout and has been shut down. Over the 2 weeks, there were 350 confirmed cases and 8 children that are currently hospitalized. TransLink shares new ridership data amid calls to the federal government to fund transit project to reduce increasing overcrowding on buses. Sebastian Arancibia has more on the story.
Metro Vancouver leads the rank as one of the cities that have most rapidly returned to pre-pandemic ridership levels in North America. Kevin Quinn, TransLink CEO, says one of the biggest concerns they have is to meet the demand from a population that increases at a pace of 50,000 people every year.
And really that's what we're all about here today, is trying to press the provincial and federal governments for funding to start to address those things before they get too worse.
According to TransLink, the plan needs funding commitments from the federal government no later than June 2024. Sebastián Arancibia, 1680 The Crow.
Science World has just opened the doors on its new interactive video game exhibit. Our reporter Zach Clark has more.
The North American video game industry is worth $63.1 billion. Despite that, the role of educational video games is still undervalued and underappreciated. As the industry continues to grow, there are more and more openings at gaming companies as the industry remains understaffed. Jason Hiltree, President and CEO of Entertainment Software Association of Canada, hopes the interactive exhibit will draw more people into a career within the industry.
How video games, how interactive media is, the most exciting form of entertainment. That gets people interested in it, and then it gets people thinking about, hey, I wouldn't mind being able to do that for a career.
The exhibit, developed by Phoenix Labs, will be open for 3 years. Zach Clark, 1680 The Crow.
A special advisor report about SFU football delivers some answers to the closure of the program, but it is also opening up a new question. Reporter Mac Mashman has more.
Following the release of a special advisor report from SFU pointing to a significant potential deficit if they kept the football program going, questions arise about the security of other programs under the SFU Athletics Department. Jim Mullen, the president of Football Canada, has read through the entire report and has concerns.
And while I'm the president of Football Canada, I have a concern for all student athletes. And the pieces that are in that report in regard to the actual department itself are kind of frightening.
Mullen went on to say, while SFU is a uniquely problematic department, other universities in Canada have the same issue. Max Mashman, 1680, The Crow.
Scientists say that climate change made the devastating storm along the Libyan coast up to 50 times more likely and 50% more intense. In an analysis released Tuesday, they said that the intense rainfall over the central Greece and parts of Bulgaria and Turkey were up to 10 times more likely and 40% more intense. Now for your weather report. It is currently cloudy in the Metro Vancouver area right now with some sprinkles coming down. We can expect rain soon in the coming hour and all through the evening.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.